So you are in a hotel room right now.
I'm in a hotel room, and I hope the internet does its thing, because right now I'm looking. Oh, it is uploading. I'm looking at the upload.
Oh,
it's
and
moving.
As soon as he
Okay,
said
good.
that,
So I'm in a
paused.
hotel room. I'm on my way to Atlanta. Rachel's with me. We're going to be at Workbench Con, and by the end of today, we'll be in Atlanta. And tomorrow, Workbench Con starts. Tomorrow will be Thursday morning. And we took a leisurely drive yesterday. We got down here. We drove about 600 miles yesterday. And I'm in Roanoke at the moment. Roanoke. Is Roanoke in Virginia? I don't even know where Roanoke is.
Yeah, it's in Virginia.
Yeah.
It's like a famous place where the people just disappeared. Remember?
I know.
Oh, gosh.
What happened? What do you mean?
The whole, settlement. No, is that Jamestown? Maybe I'm thinking Jamestown. I don't know.
Oh, you're talking
Virginia.
about American history.
Yeah. They just disappeared.
I thought you were talking about something in the news. I'm like, wait, I missed that story. I didn't hear that.
It was this hotel there, and all these people got. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I'm in an incredible hotel. Many people must know about this place. I'm in the Hotel Roanoke. It's incredible. It feels like I'm in Hogwarts. Is that the castle from the? Is it Warthog? What is the name of that hotel? What is the name of the castle?
Just keep trying. I want to hear all the different things that you come up with.
Hogwarts.
That's right.
Is that it? Is that it?
Yeah, I was really hoping. Yeah, that's right.
Warthogs. Is that what I said?
Yeah, that's better.
It's this beautiful Tudor hotel, and there's pictures in this place must have been here for a long time, because there's pictures where the city's empty except for this building. It's really
That's what I'm saying. That's where all the people disappeared at that hotel.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. No, so we're here. It's a beautiful building. And it's like restored, so it looks really nice. Anyway, so we're only going to be here until after the podcast. We'll get breakfast and get back on the road. It's nice. And then last week. I went down to Birmingham, Alabama, and I spoke at a school. I can't remember the name of the school, but it was a school in a beautiful little neighborhood right in Birmingham, right in the outskirts of Birmingham, still in the city limits. And it was so much fun. I talked to probably, 600 little kids in 3 sessions, and then one private class with the gifted kids. And it was a lot of fun. It was really, really, really a lot of fun. I don't know if anybody connected to that listens to this, but thank you for having me down there. It was a lot of fun. It was they're very, very hospitable, and all the teachers and teachers' aides and volunteers were so sweet to me. So thank you all for that. It was great. It went really well. I built things in front of the kids. I did these cardboard. So we kind of did a mock of the show. So previously, to prepare for my appearance, the kids, they polled the kids and came up with ideas for each one of the age groups. There was 3 age groups, and the kindergartners up to like the 6th graders. And so the kindergartners, the middle range, and then the 6th graders all came up with ideas, and they pared it down to 3 ideas for each age group. And I went through with the kids, and we designed them on a Zoom call with a marker and a pen, and I drew them. So there in person, I actually made them out of cardboard and tubes and tape and hot glue. And I was asking the kids in the audience, okay, I made a turtle race car, a French toast shooter, and a snack robot. So it looked kind of like Rosie the Robot from the Jetsons with a backpack on it. So I made those 3 things all out of cardboard for each one of the sessions. And it was a lot of fun calling to the kids and asking them what should the face look like, and a lot of sports references. I was really surprised. A lot of kids were saying, put Air Jordans on them. Put like on the figure of the robot. Put Air Jordans on it. I was like, I can't believe Air Jordans came out when I was a kid. I mean, so, and there's still a brand that is that ingrained in the consciousness. So it was a lot of fun.
Cool.
You mentioned you were in a room with the gifted kids. You and I have both talked about being in the slow kids class. Remember?
Yes. I was in the Windowlicker room.
Yeah. How did it feel to be with the gifted kids? Did you feel like validated? Like, now, see, I belong here after all these years.
Yeah. Yeah. No, kids were great. And I must say, I didn't spend a lot of time with them, but you could tell they're a little weird versus the regular batch. Yeah. So the gifted kids are weird as much as the so-called troubled kids, or whatever the troubles that we were labeled with when we were kids. But the one thing I did notice, and it's no disrespect to the teachers there, but they were a little outside their their range on this concept. It was a really great concept. They wanted all the kids to make an 18-hole golf course for mini golf. And the only reason they did 18 because there's that many kids in the session. So they did, and they were going to put it in the gymnasium and have all the kids and students go through it. And it was really as a big maker assignment with cardboard and tape and such. But they had limited ability as far as engineering goes, and so did the teacher. So I did a session on how to do engineering, and the teacher pulled me aside and said, this really cracks open my world. And I was like, if there's anything you need from me, let me know. If there's, if you're having trouble, just reach out. I gave her my email and everything. But I helped teach the teacher so then she could then show the kids. And, I turned her on to some package design, because it's all about package design is really the approach I took, because they were all using corrugated cardboard. And I explained to how the corrugation and the cardboard are like columns. You could fold on those columns easier than you could fold across them. If you have to fold across them, you have to put a notch in the material, or at least a rubber line. And I did a quick little ramp, how to make a quick ramp out of one layout versus piecing it all together. Because the one thing that the kids lacked the most in all of their models was engineering. They had these floppy doppy things that were folding in every direction, and they're trying to make channels and elevated roadways and stuff. And I helped them all with that, and that'll get them to at least another level, hopefully. But like I said, no disrespect to the teacher, but she was a little out of her element teaching this engineering stuff, and just a quick little search would have got her on the right path. And I guided her, and but it's very ambitious. But like we always say, you got to get outside your comfort zone, and then you'll get to a much better place. So
yeah, to speak to that just a little bit, I think a lot of teachers, maybe that one in particular, but a lot of teachers, they're teachers, right? They're not engineers, or they're not historians, or they're not whatever. My daughter is in high school, and she is taking an engineering class right now. It's not something she was super interested in, but I kind of convinced her, this would be an interesting thing for you to try out, even if you don't pursue it, even if you don't. It's something out of your area that you might enjoy. So she took one trimester of this class, and it was a lot of kind of like not even math. It was a lot of separate stuff that didn't feel like she thought it was engineering. And so she was like, well, the second trimester will be better. And she got a different teacher. And this teacher, poor guy, stood up in front of the class the first day and said, I don't know any of this stuff, and I'm too old to start learning how to be an engineer. And so I'm going to give you the curriculum, and I'm going to help however I can, but you're kind of on your own.
Wow.
And my daughter obviously was like, well, what in the world? Like, I need somebody to teach me this stuff. And my first reaction was, man, what a lazy teacher. But then the more I thought about it, like, he's right. Like, you can't one single year is broken up into 3 trimesters, and in each of those trimesters, they're teaching 6 classes. Who knows what else the guy's teaching? They can't learn how to be an engineer enough to teach other people.
I did notice. I did notice when it comes to schools, they put people just so the kids aren't sitting alone. So they do put unqualified people for certain classes, simply because
they don't have somebody that knows.
They don't have anybody else.
Yeah.
There's a limited, and not everybody wants to be a teacher these days. It's not the best job when it comes to financial. As far as you do it because you love it, you don't do it because you're going to be rich.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, that's the situation that a lot of those teachers are in. They would even like to help, and they just don't know where to start. So that's awesome that you were able to give her like a primer on it.
Yeah.
That's cool. That sounds like a fun trip.
Yeah, that went really well. And I told you guys before we started, I was very nervous because you don't know what you're going to get out of the kids. The little kids were great. They were the best.
I've never seen you be nervous.
I'm always nervous.
Really? Well, I mean, you don't show it.
Talk about things. We're going to talk about things that people don't know about us later on.
Yeah.
That's one of them. No, I was...
Really?
Well, it's almost like fake it till you make it, kind of. But I was nervous because I did a live session like about 1.5 years ago, just when COVID ended. And I lost my place in front of a room full of people, and I had to stop and start over. The monitor was going faster than I was talking, and I didn't know where I was. I was going back and forth on the slides, and I had to just stop and say, guys, I lost my place. I'm going to go back. I'm going to take a minute. I'm going to try and start over. And then like the tension broke and I was able to kind of be more of myself. Up until that point, I was a little nervous, and then the crowd was very cool with me. But that was when that happened, that kind of like crippled my confidence a little bit. And going into with the kids, I don't know if I was going to talk to a group of flatliners. I had no idea where it was going to go. But once the kids started being really responsive, like if you have an interaction with the audience, it goes great. When they're just sitting there listening to you and they're like you're pitching them new homes or timeshares, and then you're like, that's when it just like flatlines, and you just like, you want to get up on the table and dance like the Warner Brothers frog, You don't know what to do. So the first age group was great. The second age group was great. The third age group was the oldest kids. They were more reserved, but they did open up. I did crack them a little bit, but at first they were just like sitting there, like listening, like, okay, who's this guy? And and then as far as the TV show goes, it's always a huge help when they know who you are. So the first two groups of smaller kids really knew the show. They were screaming out about making fun. The oldest kids, only about 40% of the audience knew the show, and the rest of them had no idea who I was. So that kept the crowd a little bit murmured. But then they opened up when I started making the product, which was just tape, cardboard, and scissors and hot glue.
Cool. So, moving ahead at Workbench Con, are you doing a talk? Are you doing like what do you do? Or are you just going?
I'm going, and they have me as some sort of fireside chat. I have no idea. Like you go there every year, and you're like, I know you've hired me to come here, and I'm not on the list. And she's like, oh my God, let's figure that out. That happens so far every year I've been there. Yeah. And this is one of those years where it's just like open, like, come, we'll put you somewhere. So I just said, I no longer want to do the keynote speech. There's too much pressure at this point. Ann is doing the keynote, the end of the wrap up. I don't know who's doing the keynote, but Ann of all trades is doing the wrap up again. Last year she was fantastic. It was such a great, inspiring talk that she did, and she's going to do it again. And I'm on the schedule for doing something. They'll pick a room and put me in there. And
okay, does that bother you then? Are you nervous about that, not knowing what you need to do? And you can't prepare for it?
No, because there's not that much significance put on it. If I was the keynote, I'd certainly be nervous. I'd be working on a slideshow and all that stuff. But this time I'll do a Q&A. I'll talk about my upcoming barn project, and Patrick's there. A couple of years ago, me and Patrick did a conversation about building the barn together, which was really cool. And the most important thing in all of these shop creations is the electrical supply. So I brought Patrick. He's going to have a chat too about electric. Patrick Reynolds, my electrician. And I'll take it as it comes. And plus, this is a baked in audience. Everybody knows everybody. It's a little bit easier. Yeah. So when I'm in a room full of strangers, that's when the pressure is notched up.
I will say, though, last time I went to Workbench Con, this was a long time ago now, I felt that way, like, oh, this will be easy, because, like, I know everybody here. Like, we've all hung out before, And I did a talk in the big room on the big stage, and when I got up there, I looked out, and I knew about 5 people in the room. And I'm like, whoa. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I know you and you. Thanks for coming. I don't know anybody else, and I wonder if they know who I am. Like, do I need to step it up? That was kind of weird, because I went into it with the same idea. And then I did a talk at the Lightburn conference. Oh, yeah,
Lightburn's going to be there this week. Exciting.
Cool. But getting there, like, I didn't have any idea who was going to that, other than the few, Bernie and Chad, and there were a few people that I knew going into it. But overall, it was a very different audience. It wasn't like YouTube content maker people. It was people who own lasers. And so they use them for all different sorts of stuff, totally different, endpoint. And
niche manufacturing that don't even watch us at all.
Right, yeah, and so I was getting up there pretty cold and having to talk to people that I didn't know what they were there for, or, it was just a very different kind of thing, so I was a little more on edge for that one, but, so, anyway.
Did it go well, in your estimation?
Yeah, I think so. Nobody left.
You didn't walk the room like comedians do.
Actually, somebody did leave, and that's absolutely normal. I've left talks all the time, but it is weird to be on stage and you're like doing your thing, and all of a sudden somebody just gets up and walks out, and you're like, oh.
Wait, it gets better.
Yeah. I'm like, just yell out, I'll still be here when you get back from the bathroom. I'm sure that's where you're going. But yeah. Anyway,
well, it's
David,
funny. There's a comedian. Sorry, who, my brother and I used to see together. When somebody would get up and leave, he'd go, "Sir, please don't do that. That's what my parents did to me."
Oh,
you just reminded me of that joke. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dave.
I don't. That was just. That just makes me sad. That's all.
Yeah. Well, what have you been up to, David?
I think last week we talked about I needed to make a quick little project so I can get through the end of the month for a sponsor obligation. I didn't make the medicine cabinet with the secret compartment, but I did make. I've had this.
Goes on the list.
It's on the list. So I've had this tambour bit set for a long time. That I've never used. It's one of those, like, you can create like the roll top desks with these bit sets, and it's just been sitting in a drawer, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to use that for something this time. When I was in high school, the teacher had us, for the roll top stuff, just had us cut a bunch of slats and then glue that onto an old pair of jeans. And now there's a router bit set that all these pieces interlock and creates this little wavy shape. And
with no fabric?
With no fabric, yeah. So basically, it's like there's like a little nub.
That's
with
beautiful.
A little ball in the end, and then it interlocks with the other piece, and to create these doors. So I created this. It's a cabinet where instead of like a roll top desk, the doors open from left to right and slide through this oval and open into the back.
This is beautiful.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you.
Is that video out yet?
It needs to come out by tomorrow. So tomorrow, Friday at the latest. So it'll be out real soon. And it was it's one of those things like, oh, I finally done it. Now that's in the toolbox. I can use that and I can create some interesting things that's outside the normal box. Why did I wait so long to do this? It's another one of those things. Like, I got real excited. I bought the router bit set a long time ago, and I'm like, I'm going to do this. And then it sits in a drawer. I do that all the time. But I've had it, and I was ready to use it, and it was right there. I didn't have to order it. It was just all ready to go. And so...
Well, you're planting project. Seeds. You know your pattern. I'm the same way. You plant seeds. You buy stuff, and you're planting seeds for the future.
And then you buy another one of the same thing, and another one of the same thing, and then you actually use one of them.
Exactly. Yeah. You guys would be proud of me. Go ahead, Dave, and I'll talk.
I was just gonna say, sometimes I wonder if I'm addicted to buying stuff, because there's that thrill of like, oh, this is a new thing. Like, I just got a new teleprompter, and the thing is amazing. And I use a teleprompter like once every 2 months, but I use it for my ad reads. But I saw the video. I'm like, that solves so many problems for me, because I had other cheap ones that uses a phone or an iPad, and they're all yeah. And this one from Elegoo is just, it's amazing, and I had to have it. And now that I got it, I tested it out. It works great. How long is it going to sit in the closet before I actually use it? And I get really excited, and I like having these tools. Is that am I just addicted to the buying process?
I think we all are at this point. It's
I think we all are.
Yeah, because you can order something on Amazon, and then it's here later that day or the next day, which is amazing.
You know what, it's
I
like bought
Christmas every day.
10 minutes before we started? You're never going to guess. Never going to guess. So I did it 10 minutes ago. I bought it from Europe. It's going to come in a couple of weeks. I have a video to do for Weaver Leather. And recently I have my GT 200 is a Gran Turismo Vespa 2005, which I used to drive in the city. It was in some of my early YouTube videos. And I brought it upstate, and I never drove it. And the tires are locked. It doesn't start, of course. And then last summer I got it started, and we got the wheels unlocked from sitting. And it wouldn't stay running. It wouldn't go past like 20 miles an hour install. And so I just let it sit. So now it's even worse than it was. So there's a local guy who restores motorcycles. He restored my Harley a couple of years ago. And so I gave him, he does mechanical restoration. So he's going to get it this week in a couple of days. He lives in my neighborhood, and Mike, my buddy's going to bring it over to him. And the seat is slashed from living in the city. Somebody slashed the seat. So I just messaged with Weaver. They're like, hey, we got an upcoming project. We want to showcase this new leather. It's just like a pebble finish. I was like, now is the time because the Vespa's going to get restored. I'm going to remake the Vespa seat. And I'm like, but it's going to be in store. It's going to be over at the guy's shop. So I went on eBay and I bought for $70 a cut, ripped Gran Turismo seat. So when the seat comes, I'll showcase just me fixing the seat in the video. But thanks to eBay, I went straight to eBay, just typed in the model and seat, and then there was brand new seats for $250, and then there was this one for $60. Shipping was a little pricey, but it was ripped too because it was only $60. So it'll be a good showcase. So the idea of just immediately going I could go sneak in the guy's shop and unbolt the seat and take it back, but this way I don't have to do that. I don't have to bother him. He's very particular, this guy. He's got an incredibly. I'll try, and when I do the video, if he's up for it, I'll include him in me going over to his shop and just doing a quick little video of what he's doing. But his shop is absolutely meticulous. You ever see like the shops on TV, like Motor Trend, and the shops are perfect and they got the painted floors, and you're like, no one's shop is like that. This guy's shop is like that. He's got 3 motorcycle lifts, and every tool is like in foam. It's crazy. So,
every time. Well, okay. So 2 things from that. Every time I see one of those car shops, and on YouTube or wherever, and there's a bunch of lifts, and it looks super nice in there, and there's cars being worked on these lifts, and I'm like, I have a barn that has a car being worked on in it, and it looks nothing like this. There's like rust everywhere, and there's powder everywhere from the body filler. Like, I don't understand. Yeah, so there's something that they're doing that I'm not doing. Maybe they just have a different space. But the other thing I was going to say is it is pretty mind-blowing that we can get access to stuff like that seat. My green Land Cruiser, it's from 1976. Yesterday, I was pulling into the neighborhood, and the clutch started feeling very different. And so when I got it back, I looked, and it was low on fluid. So I put some fluid in it, and then I drove it around, and it still didn't feel right, but it was keeping the fluid. So I looked down at the slave cylinder on the clutch, and it was just barely leaking. So there's some seal on the inside of it is bad. This is the original cylinder. So I get on Amazon, of all places. I find the OEM 1976 cylinder for $30, and it's going to be here tomorrow. Mm-hmm. That's just crazy.
It's mind-blowing.
That's so specific. And it's not like they're all the same. It's a window of like 1974 to 1980 or something that one works for. It's just, it's bizarre. And the same thing yesterday, I was building this table, and I had these kind of T-bolts that I was using in a track, and I made a mistake and then realized I really need those bolts to be, a half-inch longer for this to work. Went on Amazon, and I found exactly the bolt I needed and the right number that I needed, a half-inch longer than what I needed. It's not something I could buy locally. Again, it's going to be here tomorrow. So even though it is kind of like a bad thing to buy all the stuff that you want like that, to be like, oh, yeah, I just need this. It's also very handy to be able to get the thing that you need to move ahead. And
I'm also a very spontaneous worker. Like I'll come up with an idea and that's what I want to make tomorrow. And a lot of times, you gotta order stuff or you gotta make a trip to a store and get supplies and stuff. It's so nice to have the luxury of having materials and bolts and nuts and everything just in a drawer ready to go.
Now, do you have, when you buy stuff like that impulse, maybe not for a project, but the teleprompter or something, do you have a money threshold where it's easy for you to, I'm just going to get that thing and I'll figure out when to use it? Or
no, it's more, it's not really a money threshold. It's more of a problem solving threshold. Like I can recognize I don't need another guitar pedal because I have 20 of them over here. Like that just looks cool, and I just saw somebody who's very talented use it, right? And it doesn't solve a problem. But when using a teleprompter is a pain point for me. I need to read lines. I need to have bullet points for ad reads or whatever. And the one that I have now, I got to put this ring on the camera, and it doesn't fit right. And
I've used the apps on the phone.
Yeah.
You just got to make sure you don't see them in your eyeglasses. That's the only problem.
Yeah, yeah. And so it's kind of like if it feels like it's going to solve a problem or save time. So it's like Casey Neistat has this chart of like when you can make a video with your phone, and that's like the easiest access to making a video. And then the jump to an SLR or DSLR is a huge jump in quality. And then every time a new SLR comes out, or every time you buy a new accessory for that, it's a small jump. And so, but it costs more money. So but those little conveniences, they add up, but they cost more as you go further down the line. And so like, who knows what the next Sony camera is, but if it's going to save me just that little bit of time, or if it's going to decrease a pain point a little bit, I'm all about it, because I want the least amount of friction as possible to making videos, and I will spend money on that because it's a one-man operation, a couple of days a week. It's a two-person operation, and I'm just looking to reduce friction. It seems to be my obsession.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm absolutely with you on that. Anything that will make it easier for me to do what I want to do every day. Yes, I would. I have bought many a weird connector for camera like this, and any little thing that will just make it easier to move from one thing to another.
Yep.
But I do have, the reason I was asking about the money kind of threshold, I do find that I have this, and this is the wrong way to do it. I'm not saying this is a good idea. I find that I'm willing to throw down $50, $100 on something that, like, it might be a good idea, it might work, whatever, and I'll do that pretty easily. But then if something is $250, I'm like, oh, I should probably think about that. I'll try to be an adult and like think through whether that's. But the problem with that is that I will throw down $50, $100 4 or 5 times in a day on
right.
individual little things that So it's kind of a false threshold, really, for me.
You reminded me
because I buy stuff like this weird little connector for this camera, because it's a good idea, and this will help me in this one particular situation when I'm filming on a 3D printer. Cool, but this has been sitting on my desk since it showed up, so I haven't actually. It hasn't made a difference yet, but I still spent money on it.
Is that connector by PJYTEC? Yeah, those connectors are great.
No.
Oh, no?
This is the rip-off version. It's even cheaper. This is by HEPAIL.
Okay, but they're great because you can just quickly move one camera to another tripod and switch things out. They do. I invested some good money in those connectors because it makes life easier. I have multiple tripods. I have multiple little stands or whatever, and I can easily just move the cameras around.
That's the little like dark gray plate thing that snaps in.
Yeah.
Is that one?
Yeah.
Yes, I have a bunch of those. Those are fantastic.
Yeah.
This is for the Ace Pro camera, little magnetic. It's the rip-off version of their connector that goes in there.
Gotcha.
But, just so you know, it doesn't work as well.
Oh, that's the problem.
It doesn't snap in. You gotta here, watch, I'm gonna press really hard, see if you can hear it click. Did you hear it?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's even the Ace Pro.
Both sides are in now. But
even the Ace Pro
hard.
is even the original one that comes with it is difficult to stay in there.
Yeah, the one that comes with it, you just done. But yeah. Anyway,
I was going to take that plate off the bottom of mine. I'll do it when I get home. It's a couple screws holding that plate in the bottom of the Ace Pro, and I was going to drill a 1/4-20 hole in it, because if there was a tap 1/4-20 in it, I would use it for a lot of things. And there's one in the bottom of that new adapter. That's why you bought it.
Yep. It's got a 1/4-20, and it has these fold-down little tabs, so you can put it on, one of those.
Oh yeah.
Hingy-doos, and you can use it.
The original GoPro mount.
Yeah. Yeah. But it has quarter 20, and that's actually why I got this one, so that I can make a mount for the front of my 3D printer. So
it looks,
when I go to do a time lapse, it just...
That steel plate has that's screwed to the bottom of the camera. It seems like there's enough room to get a couple of turns of a quarter 20 in it, so that's what I was going to try and do. Just take it out, drill it, tap it, and put it back in. But we'll see. We'll do that when I get back. But I've been loving the Ace Pro. It's a great camera. A lot of guys have been using it as well. A lot of other YouTubers have been using it.
So, speaking of this camera, remember we were talking about... Go ahead, David. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask... We accumulate all these little things, and some of them are great, some of them are not so great, but they add up over a while. I am part of a couple local Facebook groups, Toledo Creatives, and then there's some filmmaking ones. And when I have like gimbals and stuff and kit lenses and things that I don't use, I don't want them taking up space here. And so I usually get rid of them. I probably sell them for cheaper than what they're actually worth, but I know that they're going to local artists and local creatives. And so if just a little thing to help you out, if you're part of any local Facebook groups, it's a great way to get rid of a bunch of stuff.
I'm not, but that is something I will look into. There's a website called mpb.com. I think that's what it is. And you can buy camera gear there, but you can also trade in and sell camera gear there. So what I've been doing over the last year or so is all of the stuff like the old GoPros or the DJI action cams, the things that I'm not using anymore, rather than them sitting here and becoming more and more obsolete, I sell all those things to this company, and they have, really simple. They give you a quote on it, and then they give you a shipping thing. You just box it up and ship it to them, and then they give you the money for it. And you can get cash back, or you can apply it toward a credit for buying something. So our new big camera that I bought was pretty cheap because I traded in a bunch of old cameras that I wasn't going to use anymore anyway. And like their cages and their stands and their batteries and all that stuff adds up.
I've used KEH for that in the past. It's
okay.
Another camera supply, used and new.
Cool.
With all the gadgets that, I know this is all off topic, but with all the gadgets and everything that we all buy, nobody buys more gadgets than Jocko. And when he was here with me, I said, and I always follow his lead. Whenever he buys something, I usually will buy the latest DSLR he uses. But I asked him this time around, I'm like, what's the latest? And he goes, I just use my camera now on my phone. That's it. He goes, I just use the GoPro. I mean the iPhone. That's it. And he has a little mount that he designed and developed. He'll sell it eventually, but he goes, I just use the iPhone. That's it. He goes, after all fumbling with carrying equipment all around with me, because it's the best camera that we all carry all the time. So there you go. So he vlogs mostly now. He vlogs mostly in Italian, his Italian channel, and he says he just uses his iPhone for everything.
Yeah. That's pretty impressive, because those videos still look great, Let's see, what have I been up to? I've been working on... Did I tell you all about the table? I showed you the ping pong table I was going to make, right? So I don't know if I talked about it or if I just showed that. It's a... What do you call it? Not collapsible. Transformable? Shrinkable? Expandable? Largeable? It's a ping pong table that will become half its size when you don't need a full ping pong table. And so... I started on that a couple days ago, and the whole sliding compression mechanism that makes it smaller works great. And so hopefully this week I'll be able to finish that up. That did make me think of something, though. You were talking about how nice it is to have hardware and supplies and stuff when you need it. We don't have a place here in town, in our small town, that sells hardwoods. Big box stores, you can get a few things, but we don't have a KinCraft or anything like that here. And for this table, I needed 2 3/4 by 3/4 by 5 foot pieces of walnut. This is very little walnut, right? There's nowhere to get it here. And so I had to plan ahead enough to be able to, I found it on Home Depot's website, and, one of their things that you have to order, special order or whatever. So I had to plan ahead just to have these 2 walnut 1x3s shipped in, and they should show up today.
You did mention that. You did mention that a week ago that you ordered them. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, it's just, that's a thing that I don't have access to locally. We don't have a hardwood supplier, and that would make it a lot easier. And I think I would honestly use stuff like that more if it was available. But it's just, I got to plan ahead so much and wait on shipping, and it's crazy expensive, more than just buying it from so and so who has it on the back of their trailer. I'm sure there are some. I mean, I know there are some people locally who have, rough sans hardwoods that I could get. But in the moment, tracking that person down to get the one piece that you need, or a truckload of pieces, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Doesn't your buddy Josh have a shed full of walnut?
He did. I don't know how much of it he has left. I should have asked him. He had a lot of walnut originally. But I know he's gone through a lot of it and sold a bunch of it. And other stuff.
It's funny. We were working on this
because he probably has at least the piece I need.
Yeah, we were working on this cabinet, and we were using red oak that I got from a local farmer. It came in big, like 2-inch thick pieces, and we were resawing it for all the pieces that we need. And I needed one more piece, and I was out of red oak. And I needed it right away. And Home Depot is like 4 minutes from my house. Kencraft is like 15 minutes from my house. I'm like, we're gonna go, and while we're going to Home Depot, we're gonna film a Squarespace spot in the car. So Daniel grabs the camera and we film that. And then I'm going into the Home Depot, and Daniel's like, "Hey, you wanna film you grabbing some red oak from Home Depot?" And I'm like, "No, I do not want people to know that I'm buying hardwood lumber from Home Depot at 4 times the cost." But
I'll just say it on this podcast.
I'll just say it on nobody's
people
listening.
Listen to.
Ain't nobody listening. Yeah.
I use the hardwood from Home Depot sometimes just because of the convenience that it's all 4-sided, nice and smooth and flat.
It is, and
if it's a project. If it's a project that I know that I have to make shelves or something for a client, I'm like, they don't have any care at all what I'm making it with. They could care less, and it'll make my life easier.
Their 3/4 inch red oak is exactly 3/4 inch. Like it is it is 2 size. Yeah,
and it's so crispy you can cut your fingers on the square edge.
Oh yeah, and the
cool.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like so.
Yeah.
No. But I mean, it's so sharp that it's not a big leap to get to a finished looking piece if you're in a rush to make something.
Do you all have Menards near you?
Yeah. Well, I don't.
That's
but
where
I
you
love
save big
Menards
money.
when I see them.
Yeah, you do save big money.
Menards is great.
They
I don't
do have
them,
a lot of. They have like shrink wrapped boards, hardwood boards there, and so they don't have walnut. That's the big thing. That if I'm ever going to use a hardwood, that's probably going to be the thing that I want to use first. And they don't have that, so if I need something else, I'll often go there, and it's pretty reasonably priced. I mean, it's still going to be more expensive than getting it from the tree or whatever, but they have a lot of really nicely finished maple and then stuff I would never use, but they have hickory and they have ash and they have a bunch of other stuff. The cool thing about Menards, if anybody has Menards near them, they have the shrink wrap stuff, but then next to that, and those are all fixed sizes, next to that they have kind of an odd sized thing that is sold by the foot, not by the board foot, but by the foot. And so it will usually have, I think, 2 or maybe 3 finished edges, but not the other one. But it's significantly cheaper if you're willing to get that and work it down to what you need. But you lose the convenience of I need a 1x6 that's 3/4 of an inch, and I can just unwrap it. There it is. But so there is an option, kind of, but no walnut. So,
if it's exotic wood you're looking for, there have been times where I bought exotic planks on eBay from suppliers that'll send them to you from across the country. So I bought like a 5 or 6 foot plank from somebody on eBay a couple times. And then in my area, I'm very rural, so there's lots of sawmills. So if you go on Facebook Market, there's tons of guys selling rough cut that they have collected in their barn for various lengths of time. I know there's a barn, somebody came to me and said, "Hey, would you be interested in buying this supply?" So I went to this guy's house, and I think the father had passed away, and the sons were selling. He had probably hundreds of thousands of board feet of white oak in and around the whole barn. And when I asked him a price, he basically gave me a price for what I would pay if it was all cleaned in 4 sides. I was like, that's not a very competitive price. Thank you for showing me. And he sends me a message months later. He's like, you still interested? And I'm like, yeah, it would be if you gave me. I would have to unload this stuff in the eaves. This stuff everywhere. So it would be treacherous just unpacking this place. Versus, it's just a crazy old man with a sawmill that was just cutting wood down and collecting good quality wood. There's hundreds of thousands of linear feet of this stuff in this place. And I can't believe the barn is holding up. There's so much wood in it. But if he wants to get rid of it, he's got to sell it for a competitive price.
Facebook Marketplace 12 years ago, I mean, you could get walnut slabs for like $50, $75, and you could find these shedfuls of wood for super cheap. People seem to know what they have now, and you rarely find good deals anymore.
Yeah. There's a house near me being sold locally, and I still know the owner. I know he still owns the house. And while he was cleaning it out, I wandered over and I was talking to him, and he has a huge pallet of wood in his garage. And he's going to put the house on the market soon. And I said, whose wood is that? He goes, oh, that belongs to my cousin. He just parked it here because he knew my garage was empty. I mean, you would need a forklift to move this thing. I mean, it's 2 pallets on top of one another, 10 feet long, full of wood. So if you looked at the end of the pile, it's maybe 6 feet high by maybe 5 feet, 4 feet wide, 8 feet deep. And it's all different types of exotic woods, like walnut and white oak and maple. And he's like, oh, I'll tell my cousin you're interested. So the guy calls me and I was like, what do you think? And he goes, I don't know. I did the math and I'm going back and forth. I think 13,000 would be fair. And I just said, okay. I said, we're too far apart. He's like, make me an offer. I was like, no. I said, we're too far apart.
$500.
And he goes, make me an offer. I was like, no. And so he writes me a few days later. He's like, come on, make me an offer. I was like, we're too far apart. I said, I can get any of that any given time I want. I can just go to Ghent. I don't need to buy any of it. I don't need to sit on $13,000 worth of lumber. And he said, make me an offer. And I said, $1,000 is the most I'd pay. I said, and I know you're insulted. I said, but that's that. The house is going to get sold. What are you going to do with it? You're going to sell it stick by stick? It's been sitting there for like 15 years. It's like, so whatever. It's still sitting there. I see it when I drive by.
Well, maybe he'll call you at some point and be like, hey, $1,000, I got to move it. So,
yeah, he's going to put it on Facebook Market and go meet somebody one stick at a time. I was like, come on.
So speaking of material, we were kind of talking about this before we started recording. I'm curious, because I have one in mind, I'm curious if there's a material that you all have never worked with, and maybe that's on purpose, maybe you've just never had a reason to or an opportunity to. Is there something that you've been wanting to really work with that you just have never gotten to?
You know what I've been thinking about lately, and it's the ceramics that get baked at like cone 10. There's like those are ceramics that you make knife blades out of. I haven't gotten there, and I haven't even gotten there with like cone 6. I haven't really been experimenting, but it's intriguing. There's that, and then bronze, which I bought all the preparation. Talk about planting seeds. I bought all the stuff to do ceramic molds to pour bronze, which is on my list to do in 24. So that's something I want to work with, and it's a complicated ancient art, and I did it with the bell, and I was able to get some success. And that's something I want to work with, the bronze and then the high-end ceramics to come up with something that looks like super, super hard. So those are 2 things that come to mind. But there's like ancient arts involved in both of them that need to be studied and adhered to.
Yeah, and those are partially a material, but partially a huge amount of like understanding of how that works and the stuff around getting them to work. And yeah. Interesting. David, do you have anything like that?
Sort of sheet metal. I haven't really done anything with sheet metal, and I've always kind of want to. I think that's going to change here real soon now that I have a plasma cutter and I have Sheet Cam, the software to do some stuff. So I want to get a break so I can bend it. And it's just when you see really good sheet metal pieces, finished sheet metal pieces, it's like, man, I can do that. That looks cool. That would be nice to have. And that's the next thing for me.
Sheet metal.
Are you thinking that for furniture or for what's the
for whatever. Like I don't have any projects in mind, except when I see like masters at this stuff make like cool little toolboxes with riveted ends, and I don't know, something about those pieces, just they look so cool, and it's handmade and it didn't come from a store. So I don't know what I'll do with it, but I'll figure out how to get it into my furniture.
I have a bender that can bend 1/4-inch steel. It's this huge.
Whoa.
It's I think it was a Recent Trump. Recent Trump is a brand name that makes high-end industrial stuff, and I bought this bender used from a friend of mine, and he had to come and deliver it, and it was so heavy. I might have done some Instagram stories on it. I never really showed it, but it's set up and ready to go. It's a 3-phase machine. It'll bend an 1/8-inch piece of metal 8 feet long. That's like, it's such a piece of industrial equipment. So, and it's set up, and me and Patrick electrified it, and I set up this sort of higher, thicker metal shop outside under this awning outside my commercial shop, and I haven't used it. I did experiment with it once on Instagram, but that's another thing. I've been meaning to make either a piece of furniture or a piece of shelving or something. I just haven't had a good project to showcase this equipment where I can bend 1/8 inch. I could bend like a short piece of 1/4 inch. I could bend a full 8-foot piece of 1/8 inch, which is unbelievably powerful. This machine can do that. So I'm excited to play with that. It's something I want to play with once it gets warmer out, because all this equipment is outside. It's covered with a roof, but it's open walls.
I mean, my first thought is getting some, like a 8-foot long piece, and you bend it into like a 90-degree or even further than that. Then you can cut those pieces and turn each one of those into a leg, and or like a protective edge for wood. I think there's a lot of cool uses for that.
Yeah, I haven't found I haven't thought of a good decent project. I want to do a process. I want to take plasma cut the 1/8 inch steel, and then take it to the bender and bend it up into a shape, kind of like package design on a industrial level. So that's a project I want to play with.
Making a sheet metal airplane, paper airplane.
That'd be fun.
Alex Steele did that.
Did he?
That would be crazy.
Of course he did.
Yeah, he did. He made, I think it was like maybe 4 or 5 feet long.
Huh.
I think it was Alec. I'll have to look that up now. So the reason I was asking about this is because I have, for a long time, have wanted to do, and Jimmy, you've done this a million times, and I know it's not like an outrageous material. It's just something I've never had a reason to mess with. Is sculpting from the big pink insulation foam that, like gluing up into a giant block and then sculpting something down. I don't have any sculpture experience, and so doing that kind of subtractive work is probably not. I just don't know the mechanics of it. Like, I don't know that it would be that hard to get to the thing that you want to get to, but I've never had to think that way, so I don't really. I'm not exactly sure.
Have you ever drawn from life?
Shapes and.
Have you ever drawn from life?
Yeah.
Do like a still life sketch? Yeah. So it's very much the same thing. That's kind of this is the mechanism I use when I have to sculpt something. I use the object I'm copying, whether it's an image or something, and I use all the different scale indications in that drawing. Like if the nose is X long, how many noses is the whole entire head? And if the mouth is X wide, how wide is it compared to the eyes? So I constantly am making all those reference points so that when I scale it up, I'm like, okay, the nose is now 6 inches, and if that means that the head has to be, 6 times 5, it has to be 30-inch high head, whatever those numbers are. So that's how I do it, and that's always what I would do if I was ever going to draw from life. You make the width of if I'm looking at a coffee cup, so the width of the cup feels a little bit narrower than the height of the cup, and you start making those references, especially when you're sculpting, and it's not easy. You start going down a path, and you look, and you're like, I have to cut the whole entire cheekbone off and add a different cheekbone, and then and that's why you have the spray foam in the can to add.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
because that was one thing. I haven't looked into this at all, but that is one thing. I'm like, how do you put this back? I mean, I guess you could glue a section back on or something.
You can, yeah. Yeah, the spray foam, this foam in the can is good because it cuts at the same consistency as the foam itself. So if you're going to glue the foam together, I usually use spray glue because you don't feel the spray glue when you're carving. But if you use yellow glue, for instance, or like an Elmer's or a Type-On, not only does it take a really long time to dry because the moisture goes nowhere, the material doesn't suck the moisture out of it, but it becomes another element to carve through. Where if you're carving with wood, wood is harder than the glue, so you don't notice the glue. But if the material is softer than the glue, you're carving, and the whole time you're like, and especially when you go to sand through those joints, you're trying to sand over those glue joints. And if it's a harder material than the styrofoam, all the glue joints will stand out versus the material around won't sand at the same rate. So I always spray glue those big soft edges together, or I use the spray foam in between them, which is something we've done on the TV show and in the Buddha head video that I did, because that'll carve at the same rate as the styrofoam itself, and sand the same. It's even difficult to use Bondo and resin on that unless you're going to put a skin on it. Then that skin will sand. There's a different ratio. Go ahead.
Well, so that's the next thing is I've never done foam sculpture in that way. And I don't think I'm thinking like the Buddha head or like a face or an organic shape. I'm thinking more of building some big geometric thing, piece of furniture or something.
Yeah, that's even easier because then you could fiberglass it real easily.
Well, so that was my next thing. Fiberglass to cover it, to have a hard shell around the whole thing that you could sit on it or whatever. Yeah. I've never done fiberglass. And so that's a whole nother, I tried one time, and as soon as I started doing it, I'm like, I am ill prepared for how this is supposed to work and how I'm supposed to, so I don't really count that as having done it because it didn't work. But I think those two things together are both new for me, and I know that the fiberglass would be a stretch for me. So I'm trying to come up with a project that would take advantage of both of those, but I want it to be something pretty big. And I'm also at a point where I'm like, if I make a big thing, I have to put it somewhere, and I'm running out of room to put big things. So I don't really know. Maybe I should start small and get through those two materials. Get something under my belt with those two materials that's not really big. Maybe I should go about it that way. But
that's easy. It's actually fun. It's messy, but it's easy to work with once you get it. So when you do it, you got to have like rubber gloves and an area that's going to get, that's the day you're going to get epoxy on your cell phone, on your ear, on your nose. This is one of those type of things. Yeah. So you just got to keep a clean, decent work area, and then a lot of paper or plastic around. One material, it's not a new material, but I want to experiment this year with scale, and I have a chunk of material that. I was at the lumberyard one day, and there was this huge chunk of wood at the sawmill I go to, and it's 12 by 12 by 8 feet long. And I said, "Whoa!" And he goes, "Oh, that's a chunk of oak. I think it's white oak." He goes, "Yeah." I go, "I want one of those." I go, "How much is that?" He goes, "They're $250." He goes, "But we have to make you one." He goes, "That's already going to somebody." So they made me one, and I got it, and it's sitting in my backyard, and I can't move it. It's like 1,000 pounds. It's a 12 by 12, 8 feet long of white oak. And wow. I keep thinking, what am I going to do with it? It's sitting there. I could obviously stick it near the fire pit and make it a chair. It'll be just a bench sitting on the grass. But now it's all weathered because it's been outside. So it went from being this beautiful, shiny, fresh cut piece of wood to being black. But if I brought it inside, I'd have to move it with the backhoe. It's so heavy. If I brought it inside, set it up on some blocks, and I was thinking about carving a chain link out of it. So just putting one chain link in the middle, so like one half is linked to the other half. So the two ends would come together and just make just a piece of art out of it.
Yeah.
Just a piece of sculpture. And what would I do with it? I don't know. But it's just going to be a big piece of art that you can't move. So that's something I'm going to bring into the shop. What I want to experiment with in my older age is just doing more art for art's sake as opposed to making things that have to always have a function. And maybe that could ride the line between art for art's sake and things that can function. Well, that could still be a bench sitting in a beautiful house.
The individual chain links, the individual links could be seats, maybe. So maybe the whole thing moves, and you can make a seat that curves around a fire pit or whatever, and each link is.
Oh, that's interesting because I was just thinking of like one half and the other half. But if we did three of them, that's a cool idea. I was just going to do like one half like linked like this, and so you'd have the big chunk of natural dirty wood.
Oh, yeah.
And then the other half, and then all the carved part would be around the link. But if I did that 3 times, that would be cool. So it's like boom, 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 and you can have like a conversation with 3 people versus 2. We'll see. That's actually cool. I like that. So that's something. Now that I it's been in my notes, but now that we talked about it, maybe I'll. And I walked past the wood the other day. I was like, I better do something with that before it starts to get spongy because it's sitting on the dirt.
Yeah.
It's been there for about 4 months. I got it just before the winter started.
You said it was 8 feet long?
Yeah.
So that would be hard to get 3 butts on. But you could also, like, if you imagine splitting it into 4 sections and you just put the links on the last 2 and made them actually flexible so that you could fold them under. So you could have the 2 on the ends be a leg linked to the cross piece that you would actually sit on, and it'd be like a 2-person seat. But the whole thing would.
You got to send me a sketch.
Okay, I'll sketch it.
I'll
show you right now.
All right. So, like, again, not necessarily dealing with material that I don't know, but dealing with material in a bigger scale that I'm more comfortable with, that I'm not comfortable with. So, you know, if that answers your question, Bob, yeah.
Yeah. How often do you guys feel comfortable and you're like, oh, I need to push myself a little bit? Because I think it's like a stair step thing. Oh, there's Bob's sketch.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Oh yeah, so it goes down and then becomes a little bit higher. Yeah.
Yeah, like they become feet, legs.
Yeah. That's cool.
I mean, I
think of that.
I think even if I'm comfortable, I always try to add in something that makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I don't think I do that on purpose. I think I just naturally do that, you know. Like this table with the ping pong thing. When I think about it objectively, I'm like, I mean, it's plywood and it's easy. It's just a bunch of rectangles and, you know, no big deal. And then I go, well, yeah, but I should make it slide. And if I make it slide, then it has to hold its own weight on both parts, but they have to work together, and you can't move one without the other, and you have to be able to move them both together. And, you know, it's like I complicate it, I think, and the complication is the challenge.
Yeah, I get that.
I don't know that that's a good thing necessarily.
I just go through little phases. I got the vacuum press a couple years ago, and it's like 4 projects in a row we're using the vacuum press and curve bending and laminations and stuff. And you know, I don't know what my obsession is now, but I'm sure I'll start a new one. Well, I've just done 2 projects in a row with no 90-degree joints, so maybe getting outside the box is my current obsession.
Yeah, I mean, but you're picking a path on any of those things, and you're exploring down it more than a single step.
Yeah.
Like if you did, 4 bent laminations, that's great. That's good because you get a deeper knowledge of that process than just doing it one time. You do it a few times, and you start to understand it, and then it's in your pocket for whenever you want to integrate it with something else. I don't do that. I probably should, but I don't follow a path very far, in one sitting. Like I'll do a project that's about this, and then I just move on to something totally different rather than doing an iteration or taking it one step further or something. I would probably get better at things if I did that, I think.
This conversation I've got a lot of good ideas. I can't say them yet. But well, during this, you see me grab my phone, I'm putting it on the list.
That's awesome.
I thought you were just having a conversation with somebody else that was more interesting. Cool. Well, any other thoughts on materials? New things? I mean, we'll always be able to talk about this.
Yeah.
But I'll take that as a no. All right, Jimmy's still texting somebody else. He's doing a text-only podcast with somebody else.
I'm writing my idea down.
I've been big thanks to our Patreon supporters who make it possible for us to do the show, even though Jimmy's in a hotel room.
Thank you.
That noise was from him to you. Big thanks to everybody at Patreon.
Thank you.
Especially our top supporters. Super grateful for this group. They always they've been around for a long time, and they always support. That's Crabtree Creative, Michael Menedgen, Warren Works, Jeff at the New Janky Workshop, Scott at Dad It Yourself DIY, Sean Beckner, Odin Leather Goods, Rich at Low End Designs, Chad's Custom Creations, Chad for Mancrafting, Works by Solo, Albers Woodworks, Corey Ward, and Nick Ryan. I haven't done my radio voice in a while. I should do one of these full full radio.
Yeah. Welcome to the morning zoo.
Big thanks to everybody over there. Not just them. Everybody that supports at every level. We are very grateful, and you all get the after show. I say that like it's a surprise. They know that already, but everybody over there gets the after show. So if you want to get the after show, you can go to patreon.com/makingit and support us at any level. You get the after show. Also, we don't talk about this very often, but this show is both in audio and video, and the after show that they get is also in audio and video. So whatever your preference is, you can listen, see us, or if you don't want to see us, I get it, and you can just listen. So, you guys have anything to recommend this week?
Dave, you got anything? I'll go next.
So there's this guy, his name is Jay Alto. He's a thumbnail expert for the stars. He has a YouTube channel, and it's not about thumbnails. It's just more about kind of like little life lessons. And his YouTube channel is pretty small. It's only got 6,500 subscribers. But some of his recent titles is 5 Steps to Unlock Zen-Like Focus, How to Cure Your YouTube Addiction, The Problem with Authenticity. It's just a really good short, like the little 5-minute long videos, and I always pick up a little life nugget watching them.
What's his name?
Jay Alto.
Life nugget. Cool.
Got him.
Jay Alto. All right, Jimmy, what you got?
I was just going to say, go follow Jenny Bauer. If you guys don't know Jenny Bauer, she does etching on all types of material. Can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Still can hear you.
Okay. It's saying having communication issues. But Jenny Bauer and I did a trade this week. I gave her one of my leather bags, and she you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys are
I don't
hearing
know.
me.
You can't hear us at all.
Jimmy's got that hotel Wi-Fi. He's losing connection.
Yeah. He paid for an hour. It's over.
Keep losing. Oh, God. Okay. I don't know why it's going that way. Anyway, check out Jenny Bauer. Her and I did a trade, and I gave her a bag, and she asked what would I want from her, and she etched a Zippo for me, and I'll show you in the after show. I'm going to show it this week. I'll get it at Workbench Con. I'll see her. But she etched me a beautiful Zippo. It's on her Instagram now. She has it on her Instagram. But, yeah. So check out Jenny Bauer. She's such a sweetheart.
Cool. I've never met her. I feel like we've been at some of the same events and stuff and know a lot of the same people, but I don't think I've ever actually met her. She's incredibly talented. Mine is a channel. So I was asking a few weeks ago on Instagram or somewhere about graffiti. Like, how do you learn how to do graffiti? Not because I wanted to learn how to do it. I mean, that would be cool, but I was more curious of just it's an interesting compounding of skills, and I'm curious how someone gets to the point to where they can do really impressive graffiti. Just what do you have to learn to stack up to make that? One of the recommendations from somebody was this channel called Smo Nova. I guess that's the guy's name. I don't really know. I've never looked into it that much. I mean, I've watched a few of the videos, but really cool stuff, and he teaches a lot of things. But one of his newest videos, he is selling a graffiti alphabet, and so it's these panels of laser cut graffiti letters and a little stand that is multi-leveled, and so you can lay out and overlap these graffiti letters and build your own little sign with his style type. It's a really cool idea. It's really simple, but it's very specific to an aesthetic and to his. I would assume he came up with those letter shapes. But it's just a cool idea, and it's something I never would have thought of. But he's also just really talented at doing that type of art. So
I like that. So I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
Seems like I'm panning out here a little bit. I'm just having some internet connection problems.
Yeah, I mean, I can hear you now. You're back. So good. Cool. Well, you guys got anything else for this week?
That's it.
Oh, that's it. That's it. Now I'm going to go carve my giant chain link. That's how I'm going to do that. Fast track that.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. And we'll catch you next time.
Later.
Thank you. Bye.